The reality of what I'd be facing hit me like a truck on that early morning car ride to the airport. For the next 2 weeks, I would visit hell and back. In the year 2014, my 14-year-old self would undergo a triple bypass surgery. The operation recovery process took me to a very dark place in my life. However, it also brought me to a place within me so beautiful and perfect, it's indescribable. Doctors and technicians at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston ran a series of tests on me in preparation for the massive procedure. Each day leading up to the surgery, I grew more and more anxious. Operation day had finally come. Right away, I asked the doctors for a sedative to ease my anxiety. I had my mom by my side, and she'd be waiting by my side when I woke up. 7 hours later, my first memory was feeling a large pencil was being pulled from my throat as the breathing tube was being pulled out. Eyes bulging from my head and gasping for air, I struggled to grasp the idea of where I was and what was happening to me. Then all of the pain came rushing in all at once. Wires covered every surface of my body, strangling my body and trapping me in this miserable state. Every breath was a struggle, and every movement caused agony. My face was so swollen from fluids that I could only see through the tiny blurry slits that were my eyes. Throughout the 3 long days in the intensive care unit that seemed to feel like weeks, I never anticipated the torment I'd meet. I saw death. I saw myself lying dead in that hospital bed from across the room. Surrounded by family, doctors, and nurses, there I was, with a glued chest and steri-stripped arm. To this day, I believe that God gave me that image and allowed me to enter that state of darkness to show me just how bright His light is. He had to bring me to the very end of myself to start me on the path of His overwhelming love and comfort. 3 tubes which were placed in my chest to reinflate my lungs were pulled out, causing the most torturous discomfort imaginable. My first steps after surgery caused me to vomit, but gave the people around me hope. The nurses I was lucky enough to have by my side were sent by God as my guardian angels, holding my hand when I woke up in the middle of the night, leaving their families to aid me, braiding my greasy, unwashed hair. The nurses are to thank for my recovery. Day 3 in the ICU, I made a lap around the hospital floor. I was told that in my doing this, the other patients who witnessed this were filled with faith, seeing what I could overcome at such a young age. I was transferred to the cardiac floor for the rest of the following week. This week was not easy. The longing to be home, to eat a full meal, to use the bathroom on my own, to get away from this hell grew stronger by the minute. I told the doctors and my mom, I'm just excited to feel better, because I knew eventually this all had to end at some point. Finally, the hard-working team of doctors gave the okay for me to leave the hospital. Freedom is what I thought would come by discharging me from the hospital. But the time following this great ordeal switched from physical pain to a flood of emotional and mental turmoil. Graciously, my Aunt Ann and Uncle Chuck opened up their home in Boston to my mother and me as we prepared and rested for the trip back home. Oxycodone was given to me on a precise schedule to manage my pain while I was healing. This medicine carried me through the next 2 weeks as I arrived back home to my family and friends. I'm home, but this doesn't feel like home. I see my friends and family all around me, throwing their support and love my way. But something inside was blocking any light that was wanting in. My heart began growing darker. How could I have all this support around me yet feel as though I'm in a massive arena of darkness? Post-traumatic stress disorder was this darkness. With it brought depression and anger. The wires holding my chest together could not bind the wound that my soul possessed. Drugs and rage were my outlet. Pushing everyone around me away, I was self-destructing, and I didn't even know it. Nobody could ever possibly understand, so why even try to explain? I thought day in and day out. Addiction was my one and only friend at this point. As if I were trying to fill a bucket with multiple holes at the base, nothing filled or satisfied me. Over the years, I found myself at the place I had always ended up, at the feet of my King. Broken, I sat at the feet of Jesus. Crying out in desperation, I longed to hear His voice just once. Because my God's love is so faithful, He heard my every cry, wiped my every tear, restored every empty space within my soul. At the end of all this, I came to the astounding realization that He had been there the entire time, every step of the way. He conquered the heart attack I had experienced as an infant. My God allowed me to keep my heart when the world had put me on that transplant list. Every moment he was walking with me, and he had never left me for even a second. Today I am able to be here to share my story with any person who feels like they're standing in that gigantic arena of darkness, or attempting to fill that shredded bucket. My counsel is not to let go of that light that Jesus brings. Run to it. Cling to the promises of God and don't let go. Through every tear and every session of yelling at God in anger, he listened and he couldn't help but respond. He simply loves us too much.